I want each of you to tell me a memory of the most badass time that you had on the field. Like the moment, it doesn't have to be the longest spiel in the world, but give me that moment that it was either you out there doing something that you were like, yeah, or it was you watching somebody and you were like, holy shit, how did that just happen? This is the coolest thing that I've ever seen. So think about it. And while you're thinking about it, I think Kira already has one, so I'm going to let her jump in right now. So give yourself some time to think while she tells us.
Getting Randall in the face. That was the best. And he took it and he was like, walked away.
Okay, wait. That was a little quick. Wait a second. I need a little more setup with that. Were you on the rapier field, or were you on the heavy field, or were you carrying a crossbow and did you pop him in the face? What led up to this event?
It was at Creasy, the very first event that I was doing combat archery, the very first one. And the setup was that it was hay bales that they had to go around. And he had to cross through the maze of hay bales to get to where we were shooting at them. And he started going through the maze, and I was just like, right in the face. And I don't have a crossbow, I have a recurve. So I had to be real close.
So did he just stop and look at you and was like, fine, I'm done, and walk off? Or did you squeal before he even reacted like, I got him?
Oh, I wish I had squealed, but I was just like, hey.
Nice. Well, I'm sure that Sir Randall will be very thrilled that he was a kill that you will remember.
It was a special request by the Baroness of Kitty Hawk.
You got it. You had it right. Windmaster Seal. Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
So now people are actually, man, this is getting intense. They're actually calling for people's deaths on the field. Man, Baronesses, you can't trust them. You cannot trust them. I'm not talking about you, Your Excellency, not at all.
She bribed me.
Nice.
Okay, who's next? Give me another story. That was great.
So this might not be the most badass, but it's a funny and fantastic story. So I'm fighting in melee, and I get behind their line, and it is down a hill, and there's this guy who wears a bunch of feathers on his hat, and these are a bunch of feathers, but these are big, bright colored feathers. And he is like 6'3" or something. He's very tall. He's very, very tall. Like after 6 foot, they're just really tall. And I'm downhill, and I come up to him, and for rapier, you just lay your sword and you say, "My lord, you're dead." And so I did that, and he turned around, and he's like, "You can't do that from your knees." Oh, I'm dead, because I was downhill at such an angle, he thought I was sitting down to get him.
So he was an actual tree and didn't understand that he had gotten hit.
He thought I was on my knees because I couldn't possibly be that short. But yeah.
Well, I think everybody feels that way about me because I'm 5'2", so I just kind of freak out at everybody's. Okay, Mary, go ahead.
My first Penzig, I went as a scout because I hadn't actually gotten into doing melees yet, and people wanted me to see what it was like without, actually getting hit. So I was scouting in the woods, and I went down to the lower end of the old woods field to scout out the flags. And I wandered onto 3 people, 1 a knight, 2 red belts, that spotted me as a scout, and they started chasing me. And I ran my little heart out up the hill and over the ridge. And as I came over the ridge, there was the Atlantean army standing right there. I kept running maybe 3 lines back. And as I turned around, I heard, and they dropped dead. And I was like, I love my army. That was my happiest Penzig memory. It was a good one.
That sounds like a great memory. Getting to take out who you want to take out is probably a pretty good day for anybody.
Yeah.
Ingrid?
All right, so this is one of those memories from like a past lifetime when I was like in my early mid-20s and I had like cheekbones that were really defined and all this other stuff. But no, it wasn't even so much fighting on the field as just I was a landed baroness and I felt like, well, I'm a fighter, so I need to be with my fighters all the time. So I was at every practice, like 3 times a week. And I knew I wasn't the best. I wasn't a knight. They didn't know how to teach me, but I was having fun and I loved it. And just by doing it frequently, I was getting a little bit better. But we did a lot of melee practice because it was Ethelmark, and we had East Kingdom War practice. And then we had, all these melee practice, melee madness. And so I got really used to melees and reading the field. And it was at a practice where his name's Magnus Tyndall. He's originally from Atlantia. He was not a knight at the time, but he had just moved just north of our barony. And there's only one other fighter in his shire. So they would come to our practices and we'd even drive up to them with their 2 fighters. Well, anyway, he went around the one practice whispering all the guys. I'm like, why isn't he including me? Whatever he's planning. Okay, whatever. And all of a sudden they all came over and they kneeled in front of me. And they said, we want you to lead us on the field. We can hear your voice. We can hear you above everybody else. You have a distinct voice. You obviously know how to project. I'm getting reverb on the camera here. But it was like, of course I will, but it was just like the most little beautiful thing he could have done for me. And I just had so much fun leading them through the woods battles and directing them. And it was like a unit of like 20, 25 people. So it was just so cool that they were like, no, we want you. And I was just like, okay, so it was just one of those happiest memories I ever had.
I think that's a beautiful memory. And I think anybody who's been in a leadership position, probably those are the moments that they always treasure because someone took that second and said, you are the thing that we want to make sure is there and with us, and you inspire us. So I totally get that. I'm tearing up just a little bit just thinking about it, but I get you there. I totally get you. All right, who's next? Don't make me cry, people. Continue. Someone else. Sarah, please go ahead.
Well, this actually happened last year at Penzig on the bridge battle. And to me, it really kind of pointed out how much Atlantia respects their combat archers, but also really works hard to train together. Because it was during the bridge battle, and they're pushing back and forth. And at one point, I was in the back with the rest of the archers, and they just started calling, archers up front, archers up front. And so I just happened to be standing there, and so I said, okay, let's go. And so it was like the Red Sea split, and there was like a total line right up the front, and I could actually see the people I was going to shoot, and they were looking at me like, I'm ready for you. So right up there, we shot for a while, stuff like that. But I just remember that feeling of, this is so cool, and this is the reason I'm out here, And so, I know a lot of you all are on the path, and that's really cool, but that's the reason I go out there, is that adrenaline rush and just to have that fun. So anyway, but that was my most favorite memory. So.
I mean, I think didn't you get a
Yeah.
I feel like you got a shark's tooth for this. I just seem to recall for some reason, but I think that you got a shark's tooth for that.
I actually think I was there when Sarah had that happen. And it was a pretty cool moment. But my favorite moment happened at a WoW. I don't know if it was my favorite, but I love this story. And for some reason, we were fighting an open field battle, and there were 3 flags, and each side had a flag, and then there was a contested flag. And the contested flag was between 2 long bales of hay, which normally for us means a bridge, but they had been very specific to say, this is not a bridge for this battle. You do not have to, go over the lines or whatever. You can walk over them. It's fine. This is not a bridge. But of course, we're lemmings, so we're treating it like a bridge because reasons, I don't know. So the flag's in the middle, we have it, but they're coming hard for us. And I see as I'm headed up to the back of our lines, because I was guarding the other flag and now I'm headed up. I see Duke Brian, who's on the other side, coming across the field, and he's just moseying, because if you've ever seen him fight, he moseys until he needs to move, and then he really moves. So he's moseying up, and I look at him, and I think to myself, I know he's going to go over that bale onto the back of our line, and he's going to start tapping our guys on the back, because that's how you get engagement politely. and they're going to turn around and see him, and they're going to know they're dead, and he's just going to destroy our line. I'm like, but no, though. So I start moseying up because I don't really run either. A little bit faster, and he jumps over the hay bale, and he does this. He swings, and I block it with my shield, and it's kind of like this haymaker. So I block it with my shield. So now we're engaged because he's hit my shield and I blocked it. So we're clearly engaged. And he turns his back and he starts tapping people on the back of the helm. And I tap him, and I don't think I tapped hard enough. And I tapped him again, and I still don't think I tapped hard enough. And I tapped him again, and he turned and looked, and I'm like, hey, and he went, oh, yeah, I'm dead. and as that happened, we made the push that saved the flag. And then immediately thereafter, that was the end of the melee. And so we caught the flag, we captured the flag and won that battle point. And he didn't get to destroy our lines, even though he tried. It's on to his games. And that was a beautiful moment for me because I was just in the right place at the right time. It was pure luck, but it made my heart happy.
Nothing like beating a Duke at their own game, huh? Nothing.
Right? Like, I saw him coming. I watched him charge the entire Chuk line because he had them outnumbered in his own way. So, I knew he was
all right. Who's next? Allison, please.
I was at Ice Castles, I think a year or two ago, and we had a bridge battle, and we're pushing back and forth, and we're getting to the final bits, and we got them on the end, and I got to take my big melee polearm and just spear the crap out of somebody. And as I did it, I took a step forward and just started swinging back and forth in this kind of motion and just throwing people off the bridge with the big heavy stick, which was like wading through chaff. It was amazing.
One that involves your husband, Your Grace.
Oh, well,
it's not. It's a funny story. I think it was Battle on the Bay. It must have been the fall because that was during your reign, right? If I'm doing that calculation right. And we were at Virtual Atlantia. It was like Anglesey and Bog Troopers and Friends versus. And at one point, the king at the time broke through, and I had my spear, and he was trying to run me down and chase me around. And I used to be on the track team in college, and even though that was over 20 years ago, I still like to think maybe I still got some of those moves. And I let him chase me all the way around, and then finally he did end up getting me. But afterwards, and I can't do the accent, but he was like, Tegan, will you start smoking or something? And he was just like huffing and puffing. And he's like, I just chased you all the way around. And I'm like, yeah, but it just gave me a giggle that at least that I got the attention of the king.
He was no track star either.
So I have two. I have one that's on the armored field, and I was up in North Shield, and we were having a border skirmish with Avacol. So we're camping in the summer in BFE, North Dakota, like literally on the Canadian border. And so Avacol comes down from Canada, and North Shield, if you're unfamiliar with the geography, part of the kingdom is in Canada as well. And so at one point there is always a goodwill thing that the because North Shield, since it's hosted in our kingdom, or it was hosted in our kingdom at the time, whoever is there, whether it's the king, because if he's had to drag his butt from Wisconsin, we're talking about like a 20-hour drive. But that year the king happened to be from Minnesota, so he only had to go like 12 hours to get there. So generously says, okay, Canadians versus US, to allow Avacol and the Canadian provinces to fight as a Canada versus US. It's always a ton of fun. And it was actually, it was odd because I didn't have a capital weapon. I had a shield, and there's little old 5'5", and the half counts me in the shield wall. And my king's standing there, and at the time, and he says, "Hit that line and knock him out of place." And I look up as we're doing the rush across the field, and I realize that my opposite number is 6'7" of Canadian rail yard engineer. Like, he cuts wheels off railroad cars for a living. And I'm thinking, oh, okay, I'm short, he's tall. And I got there and I did the plant and drop and right under my shield, and out he goes out of alignment because he didn't think I was gonna do it. And it was delightful watching him stagger backward and like the line around him caving because my hit was unexpected.
Hey, you know what? Sometimes going at the knees is the best way to knock somebody down.